British Airways is making a pretty massive change to how they credit Avios for flights. Instead of basing the number of Avios that you get on the distance of your flight, they're now going to be basing it on the number of pounds that you paid for your ticket. We're going to look at these changes in detail, and I'm going to highlight the weak spots of the new system by walking you through the cases where you're going to now earn less Avios than you used to, but also a few cases where you are going to be a little bit better off than before. Then we're going to look at a few ways that you could use to get around the new rules and keep earning Avios the old way, or like the distance-based way, if you want it. And finally, we're going to speculate a little bit about what could be coming next for the British Airways frequent flyers. By the way, this video has time codes for everything, so if you are interested particularly in a specific part, feel free to jump ahead. First of all, let me just briefly explain how you currently earn Avios with British Airways, and I'll refer to it as the old system throughout the video. So currently, when you fly with BA or one of its oneworld partners, they take the distance of your flight in miles and then they multiply it by a special value. That value is determined by the type of fare that you booked. For example, if you are on the cheapest economy class ticket with only hand luggage included, that value is going to be 0.25, or in other words, you're going to get 25% of the distance flown back in Avios. However, if you, for example, book a premium economy ticket, your multiplier is going to be 1, which means you're getting 100% of the distance flown. And so on, the higher your cabin, the higher your fare type is, the more Avios you get. I believe the maximum is 3, where if you book a fully flexible first class ticket, you are getting 300% of the distance flown. Now, if you are also an elite member of the British Airways Executive Club, that is, if you have bronze, silver, or gold status, that will further boost your multiplier value. Specifically, bronze members get 25% extra, silver members get 50% extra, and gold members get 100% bonus. So for example, if you're a gold member of British Airways Executive Club and you're flying on the cheapest economy class hand luggage only fare, you are getting 125% of the distance flown back in Avios. 25% comes from your fare type, and another 100% comes from the bonus for gold members. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you're flying from London Heathrow to New York's JFK Airport, the distance between which is roughly 3,500 miles, and you are on the economy class hand luggage only ticket, and you don't have any elite status with British Airways Executive Club. In that case, you're going to get 865 Avios, which is 25% of the distance you fly. However, if you book a premium economy ticket, that number is going to quadruple, and you're going to get 100% of the distance flown, or 3,458 Avios. And now let's see what is actually changing. So for all the British Airways flights that you book starting from October 18th, you'll be getting Avios based on the number of pounds you spend on your ticket and not based on the distance, as I was just describing before. More specifically, you'll get 6 Avios per pound spent, with elite members getting a little bit more. Bronze members will get 7 Avios per pound spent, silver will get 8, and gold will get 9. In addition to your ticket price, extra services that you purchase are also eligible to earn your Avios, so you'll get the same amount on seat selection, upgrade fees, extra luggage, and any other additional flight-related services that you purchase with British Airways. That sounds pretty cool, right? Well, there is a caveat. Not the entire price of your ticket is actually eligible to earn your Avios. So when you book a flight, the money you pay for the ticket can be roughly broken down into 3 categories. One is the actual base fare that the airline charges you. Another is the additional airline charges or the fuel surcharge. And the other third component is the non-airline charges, or things that you pay to third parties, such as the airports or the country of destination or arrival. So with this new system with British Airways, you're only going to earn Avios on the first 2 components, because only those 2 go directly into BA's pocket, I suppose. And again, we'll go through a specific example in just a minute so that you can see how large each component is and how it will actually affect your Avios earning ability on flights. But in general, is this a good change? Well, BA is certainly trying to present it as a positive one, and they're even given a couple of examples themselves to better illustrate what a wonderful new system it is. So let's take a look at those. So their first example is a short-haul flight to Nice in economy, and the Avios eligible part of the ticket totals to £149, which means the base fare plus the airline charges is equal to £139, while the actual ticket itself is a little bit more expensive. And then in their example, you additionally spend £14 on seat selection, bringing your total eligible spend to 163 Avios. Assuming you have no elite status with British Airways Executive Club, that ticket will earn you 978 Avios under the new rules, which is 163 times 6, which is more than you would have earned under the old rules of the distance-based system for 2 reasons. 1, Nice is not that far away, so the distance component of the equation is not that large. And 2, assuming a hand luggage only fare in economy, the multiplier is only going to be 25%. Overall, I think this is a fair example, on a lot of the short-haul flights in economy, you are going to be better off with a new price-based approach, unless your ticket is really cheap, for example, unless you're shopping during one of BA's sales. Long-haul flights, however, are a whole different story. BA is trying to convince us that you are also better off on long-haul flights as well with the new rules, but to do so, they are using an example of a business class flight from London to New York, and not the most competitively priced one. So here they're saying that you're flying to New York in Club World and paying roughly £4,000 for it. Well, given that the fare and the airline charges component alone is over £3,000, I assume the total price of the ticket is around £4,000, which is, well, it's not unreasonable for the business class ticket on that route, but that flight can be had for a lot less if you are prepared to play around with dates or shop during the sale. I assume the reason BA uses this kind of pricing in their example, or even using business class specifically, is because they really struggled to come up with an example of a long-haul flight in economy where you would be better off under the new rules rather than under the old rules or the distance-based system. So to better understand how the revenue-based approach compares to the distance-based approach, let's look at an example of our own. And we're going to take the same London to New York route to do that. So BA.com can show you how many Avios you can earn under the old distance-based rules for flying from London to New York, based on the fare type that you choose. Since the numbers on the screen are for the one-way journey only, let me also display how many Avios you'll earn for the return journey from London to New York and back, just for convenience. And obviously I got them just by multiplying the one-way figures by 2. So the cheapest economy class fare with hand luggage only will earn you 1,706 Avios under the old rules. How many Avios would that be with the new price-based approach? Well, to find out that, I had to BA's low fare finder tool, and I can see that the cheapest flights to New York in the coming months are £361 return. How much of that price is actually eligible to earn Avios? Well, when we look at the price breakdown, we can see that only £201 out of 361 will actually earn you Avios, because the rest of it is non-airline imposed charges on which BA is not going to give you anything. So 201 times 6 totals to 1,206 Avios, which is well less than what you'd earn in the previous distance-based system, and I would say quite significantly less, over 30% less. Of course, you can breach some of that gap, or maybe even all of that gap, by buying additional services such as paying for your seat selection or additional luggage or whatever. I similarly looked up prices for other fare types and did the same calculations, and as you can see, the gap for economy class ticket with checked baggage included is even wider, and it's especially wide for the premium economy ticket, where the difference is almost 3 times, meaning that the new system earns you almost 3 times less Avios than the old system. However, when we get to business class and first class tickets, we can see that the two approaches pretty much even out, earning you roughly the same number of Avios. And one more thing, the clear winner in terms of the new system or the price-based approach are the fully flexible fares, where they beat the distance-based approach by a large margin only because they are notoriously expensive. For example, the fully flexible economy fare to New York costs over £3,000, which is roughly 10 times more than the cheapest economy class ticket. And obviously such fares earn you a lot more Avios under the price-based approach than they used to under the distance-based approach. And to sort of summarize our findings so far, the new system is obviously geared to reward higher spend, which means on long-haul flights in economy and premium economy, you are likely to be worse off, unfortunately, than you used to. In business and first class, on both short and long-haul flights, you're going to be earning roughly the same as you used to. And then the flexible fares are the obvious winner here, because they're so expensive, they're going to generate you a lot of Avios in the price-based approach. However, I can't help but wonder who actually buys the flexible fares on these flights, because they're so ridiculously priced to British Airways. With other airlines, you can see a flexible fare which allows you to refund your ticket or change your ticket for free. And I don't know, they're 20, 30, maybe 50% more expensive than the cheapest fares. But with BA, the difference is, like, as we just saw in economy, is 10 times, which is unbelievable. What about those with an elite status in the executive club though? Currently, they get a 25, 50 or 100% bonus based on the distance of their flight. But under the revenue-based approach, there is a baseline of 6 Avios per pound spent, and then bronze, silver and gold members get an extra 1, 2 or 3 Avios per every pound spent as a bonus. And if we compare those side by side, we can see that, for example, for bronze members, the 1 extra Avios per pound spent only represents a 16% bonus compared to 25% that they used to have. Similarly, there is a decrease for silver, but I think the gold members have been hit particularly hard with their bonuses being halved. where they used to have 100% extra Avios, but now the 3 extra Avios only represent a 50% bonus. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about these changes and how they will affect you given your specific flying patterns. In the meantime, let's see how you could avoid these changes and still earn Avios under the old rules if you wanted to on certain flights. Well, there are cases when British Airways doesn't actually know how much your ticket cost, and in those cases, they are still going to apply the old system and award you Avios based on the distance of your flight. And those are the cases when you're flying with one of British Airways One World Alliance partners, which doesn't necessarily mean that you have to fly a One World airline that's not BA to earn Avios based on distance. You can still use, for example, codeshare flights. So in our earlier London to New York example, you could still take the same flight on a BA aircraft, but buy your ticket from American Airlines instead because there is codeshare agreement between the two, which means you're on the same flight, on the same plane, but you're getting Avios based on distance because technically your flight was marketed and bought from a One World Alliance partner instead of BA directly. The other case to which the new system won't apply for now is booking package holidays via BA Holidays. That one was a little bit surprising to me, but it seems like BA doesn't actually know how much the flight component specifically is when you're booking a packaged holiday. So anyway, what could be coming next after these changes? This switch to awarding you Avios based on revenue instead of based on distance was by no means a surprise. This trend actually began over 10 years ago in the United States, and JetBlue was the first airline to pioneer it in 2009. It really set in when the 3 biggest US airlines, American, Delta, and United, switched to the same model by 2014, and then a few European major airlines, specifically Air France, KLM, and Lufthansa, also switched to it by 2016. So if we look at those airlines and assume that BA is going to follow their example further, one of the things that I would expect British Airways to do at some point in the future to somehow directly tie the earning of an elite status in executive club to how much money you spent on the tickets. Because right now, none of the changes that I described in this video affect how you earn tier points, which determine your elite status. So the way you earn bronze, silver, or gold status in British Airways Executive Club is staying exactly the same, unaffected by these changes. Well, at least for now. That's all I have for today. Let me know in the comments what you think about these changes to British Airways Executive Club and the Avios earning structure. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.